You know, some of y'all have night charts, and all you do is talk about, oh, my sun sign is this. My sun is in the such and such house. My sun sign this. My sun sign that.
Shut up about the sun! Shut up about the sun!
Look, you don't have to shut up about the sun, but can we at least also give credit where it's due to the other luminary in our charts? That's right. This week we're talking about the moon. Come on. Hey Cosmic Cuties, it is your friendo, the Lady Ms. Vagina Jenkins, and that's right. In this week's video, we're going to be giving credit to the moon. I want to talk specifically about why I think we overlook the moon and its importance in astrology, capitalism. And I want to talk about the reasons why the moon is so important to understand both in your natal chart and in the sky as it transits our charts. So right now, as I record this video, the moon is in Aquarius, which means it's transiting my third house of communications and ideas. So it feels very aligned that we should honor the moon and give him his flowers. So I hope you'll bear with me as I yap a little bit about why I think the moon is so important and how it gets overlooked in pop astrology. Let's get into it. In our astrology charts, as you well know, we have all of these planetary placements and fixed stars and calculated points that we can take into account that make up the full holistic understanding of each one of our charts, right? But because of the ways that pop astrology looks, we tend to only talk about the sun sign. And I want to take a minute to try and rectify that, or at least add to the conversation. Yes, the sun is extremely important in our charts. It is a light, you know, it is the light that draws and propels us forward. It's so much about what keeps us motivated and our higher self and how we interact with the external world. And that's beautiful. But also, there is an internal light, an internal guidance system, a rich inner world lit up by all of the phases, motions, transformations of the moon. For example, when I do my Astro 101 readings, I often offer up this metaphor for the big three. So it seems to me that the rising sign is the kind of filter or lens through which we approach the journey of life, you know, walking the path of life. And the sun sign is the light at the end of the path, the thing that sort of propels us forward on this journey. But the moon sign is what we need to feel safe as we are approaching this journey. And I offer up that metaphor because it seems to me that we're talking about two different ways to propel ourselves forward, externally and what it means to take care of our internal landscape. Both of those lights are a huge part of the journey. The light that we carry with us, much like the hermit and his lamp, and the light that we are attracted to, propelled by, motivated by, and aspiring to. I am a person with a night chart, and I happen to have the moon in my 9th house of like how I make sense of the world and find God in the world. And so the moon is incredibly significant to me, both as an internal force and as an external transit to our natal charts. Now, what do I mean by having a night chart or a day chart? Well, because the sun is so significant in astrology, a lot of the ways in which we make sense of natal charts starts with finding the light, finding the sun in the chart, but also finding the moon. And so the day versus night chart thing is about what hemisphere of your natal chart circle we might find the sun? Do we find it in the top of the chart, which is the more external or daylight portion of the chart? It's the line above the horizon. Or do we find it in the bottom of the chart, in the more internal or nighttime part of the chart? And I'm using external and internal here to talk about the ways in which houses 1 through 6 are about internal or unique to the self experiences, whereas houses 7 through 12 are more about external or societal experiences. Let me break it down. Let's get a visual aid involved. So house 1, that is about yourself. House 2, it's about the resources that support your sense of self and your values around those resources. House 3 is about how you communicate and the people around you that you might communicate with. House 4 can be about experiences of family, both the lineage you come from and the home and family that you create. House 5 is about your self-expression, creativity, and pleasure. House 6 is about your daily routines and your health practices. Again, all of these things are about you and center and focus on you. And then we get into the external experiences. House 7, your partner and the people that you want to connect to. House 8, the resources that you share with the people that you would like to connect to. House 9, we're talking about higher learning, how you make sense of the world around you and find God in it. House 10, your career, your public reputation. House 11, the groups that you belong to, both your place in society and your friend groups. In House 12, your connection to God and spirit. If you look at this chart, you'll notice that where the rising sign is, there is a line directly across the middle of the chart. And if we think of that as the line of the horizon, we're literally saying, oh, this person rose into existence like the sun at this exact moment. So your rising sign. If that is the rising sort of moment, then that means that the setting sort of moment is directly across from it. So if we say that that's the morning, and then this is the evening, that means that everything in the top half of the chart is about the daylight hours, when the sun is the most powerful luminary in the sky. But then we can also say that everything below that line is about the nighttime, and the most powerful luminary in the sky during the nighttime is the moon. In astrology, this is known as the doctrine of Sect, and it's basically understanding both the planets and the natal chart, understanding their relationship to either of the luminaries. Is this a nocturnal or nighttime experience, or is this a daytime or diurnal experience? I will also say that in each one of these types of charts, day focused charts or night focused charts, depending on where we find the sun, can speak to the fact that there are certain planets that are going to be more beneficial, benefic, or challenging, malefic, in each one of those types of charts. So for example, in a day chart, the most benefic planet will be Jupiter and the most malefic planet will be Saturn. Whereas in a nocturnal chart, the sect light is, of course, the moon, and the most benefic planet will be Venus, and the most malefic planet will be Mars. And understanding sect, night versus day, helps us understand how influential these planets may or may not be in your chart. By the way, this is a really traditional or Hellenistic viewing of planets and understanding them through the lens of sect. And I mention that because it only accounts for 7 of the planets that we know to exist, because it's such a traditional phenomenon. So it's all of the luminaries, sun, moon, it's the malefic planets, Mars and Saturn, it's the benefic planets, Venus and Jupiter, and then Mercury, which is everybody's friend. Mercury is the messenger that goes between the heavens, and so is cool both in a night chart and a day chart. So that's like the boring theoretical underpinning of the thing, but I did want to share that because I think it's crucial to understanding how important the moon is. It is equally as important as the sun, and I don't think we always give it its credit. Give the moon its flowers. So yes, the moon helps us understand our emotional body and what keeps us internally motivated. It's also another way for us to understand the night versus day of any given chart, and it's another way for us to understand the influence of the planets. So those are all reasons why I think the moon is important. And you know what else? The moon is the only planetary body in our charts that comes with assistance. It's got its own little personal assistants in the North Node and South Node. So the North and South nodes in our charts are calculation points. They're talking about how if the sun is creating a container for the moon, how far north can the moon move? How far south can the moon move? And astrologers consider these points something like points of destiny or points of purpose that help us understand both, our past life energy, our comfort zone energy, and what we might be aspiring to in this life. Let me underline that point, what we are aspiring to in this life. So the moon has aspirational qualities just like the sun. In the transiting sky, the North and South node can tell us where we're going to be experiencing eclipses, the interaction of the moon and the sun. And it can tell us at any given time what we might be experiencing loss, release, winnowing around, like the waning moon, or what house in our chart we might be growing or expanding, like the waxing moon. I also think that the moon is important because it tells us the ways in which we can most effectively care for ourselves, in that the moon has that kind of nurturing, mothering like energy. And I made a video about this a while back about the moon, and I think I called it parenting your inner child or your actual child, because it is so much of that mothering, nurturing kind of energy. And I'll link that video up here somewhere, but basically it's just the idea of like feeding your moon as an entry point to self-care practices. Like, for example, me, I am a Leo moon, and a lot of taking care of myself is taking the time to be slow and just bask in and absorb the sun, and how that is part of my creativity practice, how my creativity nurtures and feeds me, and how I have it baked in to my creative practice to take time to sit in the sun and think, ideate, mull over, ruminate sometimes about my creativity and what I would like to accomplish within it. Another example could be Gemini moons and how self-care practice is rooted in making time to think, to consider, making time to allow yourself to be curious and go with the flow of that curiosity. What if self-care looks like allowing yourself to have conversations with strangers or indulge your hobbies? Self-care rooted in curiosity is what comes to mind when I think about Gemini moons. If you're curious about self-care and your moon sign, definitely check out that video, but also comment below. I'm absolutely down to think through self-care practices that are rooted in that kind of moon nurturing energy. Plus, I'm nosy as hell and I just want to know your moon sign. So yeah, I know I'm yapping at you about the moon and its importance, but I feel like it's just incredibly telling to me that pop astrology seized on the importance of the sun and the day half of the chart, because I feel like a lot of that is in line with or in alignment with like the rules of capitalism. We keep things light, we keep things airy, we keep things externally focused. And there's the part about how capitalism seeks to alienate us from our internal world, both our internal wisdom and just the richness of having like an internal world that propels us forward. I just think that the internal world the internal light, the internal wisdom that we carry with us, is of equal importance. I feel like this dichotomy between the sun and the moon, as it's expressed through pop astrology, which is so rooted in capitalism, can be the dichotomy between the 10th and the 4th house axis, because the 10th house is the highest point in the circular chart. It's the equivalent of high noon, whereas the exact opposite of that is the 4th house, and it is the lowest point in the chart and the equivalent of midnight. And so the weird dichotomy that capitalism has created between who you are externally in your career and your public reputation and what people can see most readily about you because it's bright and it's high noon, versus what cannot be seen, what is private and unique to you and precious to you, the place where you find home within yourself. How do we find balance? By prioritizing both of these lights equally. That's all I wanted to say with this video. The sun sign is important, but the moon be putting in work too. Right? Right. And speaking of work, as always, if you would like to support my work and increase my capacity to do this work of making these videos like this, please consider becoming a member of this channel. Membership in this channel starts at $3.99 a month. You get really cool perks like custom emojis and loyalty badges. You get to see content first before it's released to the public. And it's just an amazing way to support your favorite Black queer autistic astrologer / artist. Now, I understand that monthly commitment might be a bit much for folks. I absolutely understand limited financial capacity. If that is the case, please consider just doing a one-time gift, like a tip, using that thanks button below. And if neither of those options feel like they're within your capacity right now, please just give a comment. Give me a little shout out, share my work to your friends, like this video, and just continue to be a part of my community, because that is important support as well. At any rate, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for being subscribed to my channel, and thank you for making time for queer astrology. Bye.